So now the Buddha and the Dharma are the first two of the three jewels. And these jewels are the refuge from suffering, that someone who wants to be a Buddhist or become enlightened seeks refuge with them. And the third jewel is the Sangha, or the community, because people do need the companionship of other like-minded seekers. And in a way, they become secondary teachers, just like, in your class, the teacher says a bunch of stuff, and then you discuss it among the students. And often that discussion amongst the students, sometimes argument, sometimes debate, is important in coming to understand it, not just from the one statement by the teacher. Now, as I already explained in talking about the Dharma, the ultimate refuge actually is reality, because Buddha's discovery was that reality itself is nirvana, the freedom from suffering. And so ultimately the taking of refuge becomes an effort to understand the reality that is the refuge, actually to realize that reality itself is a refuge and not the dangerous place that one habitually assumes it to be. Because it seems to be that only because we don't know its true nature. We think we are a separate entity and the rest of the universe is something else against us or in front of us that we face. And naturally we feel overwhelmed by this vast universe of all the other people and all the other things. So if we knew the nature of reality, we would know our interconnection with it all. And this would make us less freaked out. And actually, if we really knew it viscerally, totally free of suffering, that would be nirvana. Now, of course, knowledge takes time. And so a sense of faith or confidence in the possibility of an accessible, safe, suffering-free reality is the initial motivator. In the early experience of the people who met the Buddha after his enlightenment, it seems that his own presence created a powerful field, what they call a mandala, guardian place of the mind, or a kind of field of charisma, you could say. In his presence, people felt a jolt that lifted them out of their daily preoccupations and turned their attention away from their habitual narrative of their own self navigating through life towards some sort of ultimate matters of ultimate concern, the nature of reality itself, the nature of themselves, what they're doing, what's the meaning of what they're doing, and so on. So an example is the story of the Buddha's first encounter as a Buddha with his 5 previous companions in asceticism, who had left him in disgust eventually when he rejected the self-torture of mortifying the body and started eating food and healing his wasted body, because he'd been doing it for years with them. When they saw him coming, once he was a Buddha, they were muttering to each other, "Hey, don't pay any attention. Here comes that cop-out, fat, happy Siddhartha, no longer one of us." But when he came closer to them, they felt involuntarily lifted to their feet, and they paid respects, and they felt an accountable sense of joy and astonishment upon sensing his newfound condition. And they forgot completely that they were so mad that he was no longer torturing himself, just like they were. So then, kind of nervously, dealing with this new person, their leader, Kaundinya, said, "Hey pal, how you doing?" And then Buddha immediately retorted, "Don't call me pal. I'm no longer the Siddhartha you knew. I now am a Buddha." So the combination of his field and that statement made them sit at attention, and then he began to teach them, or as they say, turn the wheel of Dharma. Basically teaching them not that they had to believe some particular thing, not that he could save them even, but simply the 4 noble facts or the 4 noble truths. That, life is suffering, just to repeat from last time, that there's a cause of it that can be understood, that there's a freedom from it when they really do understand it, with nirvana. And then there's a path of 8 branches of 3 higher educations, which will enable them to realize the true nature of things and free them from suffering. Upon that one teaching, Kaundinya, the leader of the group, attained the stage of enlightenment known in the systematized tradition as stream winner, meaning that he left the sort of rigid position of being an isolated being, alienated from the universe, and entered into the stream of relativity, of being related to all things in the universe. So just began to sort of put his toe in that warm water, actually. Not too icy, actually. Anyway, needless to say, he didn't become a Buddhist because there was no such religion to sign up on. You know, there was no Buddhism, just this person that he had known who had become enlightened, who called himself now a Buddha. So what happens is that Buddha says to someone who awakens like that, as the different stories unfold, he says, Ehi bhikkhu, which just means, come here, mendicant. And then there is this miraculous bath and barber scene, kind of incredible to us moderns, where these ascetics, long hair and finger and toenails are vaporized, they get a bath, their rags are cleaned up into the patchwork mendicant's robe, and they become seekers of nirvana. This new lifestyle enables them, of being a mendicant, enables them to enter the path, which is the fourth noble truth, and make that the total purpose of their lives. No more productive work, no more family, no more taxes, etc., no more livelihood. They get a free lunch from everyone in the community, and they can meditate and they can study and learn and develop their mind, evolve consciously to a higher form of being as they believe. So this is how the early community of enlightenment seekers was formed. At first, there were no rules of discipline, no articles of membership. There was just the presence of a cognitive shift upon encountering the Buddha and his teaching, or one of the Buddha's already enlightened disciples and their teaching, and then one's personal grooming and clothing and name and caste membership all change, and one stepped out of his, and later her, normal occupation and become a mendicant seeker, an enjoyer of the enlightenment lifestyle in the Sangha community. Another fun story is the young layman Yasa, which shows the effect of the Buddha's transformative mandala field, even more graphically. He had been picnicking in the woods with a bunch of party girls, and he was rolled. And he had been drugged and robbed of his wealth and clothes. So he was running through the woods looking for the robbers, the girls who had robbed him. So when he's coming through the garden where the Buddha and his monks were meditating under the trees, he said, "Hey, did you see some girls carrying silks and jewels and running along here?" And the Buddha looked at him and said, "Well, would you rather find the girls, or you yourself attain nirvana, total freedom from all suffering?" So this young hungover yuppie, Yasa, instantly said, oh, I'd much prefer nirvana, of course, and sat down. And then the Buddha taught him the Four Noble Truths. He then sat the whole day in focused meditation. And by the end of the day, he attained actual, not just stream winner, but he attained arhatship, or full sainthood, by the evening. And then he was coming out of his sort of meditative state. He was congratulated by everyone, including his very worried parents, who by then had come there looking for him. And actually, although they were losing their heir in their family, they were delighted because he was glowing with joy and so forth.